we talked about Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam passing away as one of the signs. Then he sallallahu alaihi wasallam also mentioned about the i.e. they will both be of the same aqidah. And then Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam also talked about Hazrat Uthman radiallahu ta'ala an being martyred, then there will be a large massacre, and that will be the cause of that. So inshallah we'll continue, and the next position that we want to talk about is the appearance of the Khawarij. So the Khawarij that later on we found that when Hazrat Ali radiallahu ta'ala an was fighting against the Khawarij, the Sahaba came back crying. And the Sahaba came back crying, and Hazrat Ali said to Abu Sa'id al-Khudri, Ali radiallahu ta'ala says, come with me. So Hazrat Ali took him into the battlefield, and there was a man face flat. Hazrat Ali said, turn him around. He turned him around, and it was Dhul Khuwaisira, the man whom the Prophet ﷺ said they will come out the fold of Islam. Hazrat Abu Sa'id Khudri said, from that point I realized that we were on the right, based on the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And the Khawarij will be, and they took up arms. First of all, they said that Hazrat Uthman was on the run. So, but Hazrat Uthman was already martyred. So they're not the people who took revenge. They already had an enmity towards Hazrat Uthman. They accused Sayyidina Ali radiallahu ta'ala an of shirk. They said he is a mushrik. They said to who? Sayyidina Ali radiallahu ta'ala an. So it's not a new tradition to call the Muslims mushrik. This tradition happened at the time. And they basically said Hazrat Ali has been shirk because he had views to be able to decide whose right was that the Quran side first. Right? Which is true. Quran side. Quran's teachings to be able to decide upon that. And they then, Hazrat Ali radiallahu ta'ala narrates that they basically, what was their signs? And Rasulullah sallallahu says, and the Sahaba say that their Dhul Khuwaisira sign was that he would always take his hair off, and his clothing was above and beyond what we call which is where the which. Okay, the ankles is against the sunnah. Okay, now on a point of fit, if you have your clothing dangled below the ankles, if it's not due to arrogance, then your salah will count. If you do, what do you mean by arrogance? At the time of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the rich used to wear clothing so they would down the road, and we have that shoulders that actually spoil my clothes. So people money, money was scarce, clothing was scarce. So that's why Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that anything below the ankles is basically the people of the hellfire. Hazrat Abu Bakr to clarify then said, Rasulullah, mine is below the ankles, and the Prophet said, you're not one amongst them. So in other words, you're not wearing it because of arrogance. This man was above, not above the ankles, because above the ankles is thousands and thousands of Muslims. It is reported that they killed Abdullah bin Khabbab ibn al-Arat. Abdullah Khabbab ibn al-Arat is one of the early companions. A senior companion of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, was one of the first Muslims by birth in Islamic history. His father Khabbab was a blacksmith, and he became a believer, was tortured by the polytheists, and Hazrat Abdullah ibn al-Khabbab was basically one of the first Muslims born. They cut open the belly of his wife and pulled out her unborn child from her abdomen. Plug it into that. Is this not working? So based on the Khawarij, they used to torment the Muslims, and Hazrat Ali radiallahu ta'ala called them and interrogate them, and the Khawarij about who the people you are killing, you're killing the Muslims and you're murdering and partaking in a cruel crime. They replied affirmatively. They said, yes, we are. And they basically mocked the response of Sayyidina Ali radiallahu ta'ala an, which then Hazrat Ali declared war against the Khawarij. Now the Khawarij are probably the first people. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, يَعْتَصِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا وَلَا تَفَرَّقُوا. Do not make differences amongst them. Hold on steadfast to the rope of Allah, and do not make sectarian differences amongst yourselves. Now we also know from last week that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that there are 73 sects in the Muslim Ummah, out of which 72 will go into the hellfire. So we already know that sectarian differences will occur. But Khawariji were the first group of people who became those. But the Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam specifically mentioned them. And we also talked about the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which I'm going to recite in a minute, which regards to where the fitna will occur from. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam says in a hadith narrated by Imam Nafi radiallahu ta'ala, who is the teacher of Imam Malik rahimahumullah, who says that Anna Nafi Anna Abi Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhuma قال ذكر النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم اللهم بارك لنا في شامنا اللهم بارك لنا في يمننا. قالوا, we said, Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam made dua. He sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, oh Allah, give barakah to the people of Sham. The people of Sham, Syria, Jordan, Palestine. Give them barakah. And then he said, give barakah to the people of Yemen. So we said, قالوا يا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم شامنا اللهم بارك لنا في يمننا. قالوا, he again reiterated, may Allah give barakah to the people of Sham, may Allah give barakah to the people of Yemen. He remained quiet about Najd. And so we asked again, Ya Rasulullah, wa fi Najdina فأظنه قال في ثالثة هناك زلازل والفتن وبها يقلع قرن الشيطان. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, there shall come upon great upheavals and dissensions from the place of Najd, and from it shall issue the side of the head of Shaitan. In other words, the Qarn of Shaitan. So Rasulullah prophesies a massive fitna will arise from the land of Najd. Now, we heard in other words, the modern day Wahhabiyya. Now, I don't want to go into the details of the modern day Wahhabiyya, but what I do want to say is basically what the scholars have said with regards to them. Now, for those people who understand the Hanafi ruling, especially the scholars, because Allah is a great known personality in the Hanafi ruling. He was around in 1250 Al-Hijr. He was in Sham at the time, and he wrote the following in Raddul Muhtar, in Hasha Raddul Muhtar, in volume number 4, in 2. He says, his words considered Prophet Muhammad to be believers ought to be the highest, or rather the art of justification of what in revolt against Allah. It's not because of unbelief of those. That they fight against, as happened in our own times with the followers of Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab Najd from Najdiyah. And he says that they took over Makkah and Medina, and they followed
mushrikeen. On this basis, they held it lawful to kill Sunni Muslims, Ahl Sunnah, and their religious scholars until Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala attacked their strongholds and subdued them. What happened was the Wahhabis took over, they were fought by the Ottomans, they went back, and then they remained until Ottoman one came to be destroyed by the West, and then the support from the West, they re-attacked Makkatul Mukarramah and took over Saudi Arabia. So we can understand that the scholars have regarded them as the modern day Khwarijis. Now, one thing about the Khwarijis that you will see today, the Khwarijis are extremists. That's what Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam called them. They were the extremists. And what you will find if you look at every single extremist group, from Al-Qaeda to ISIS to Al-Shabaab in Africa, to every one of those extremist groups, they were just, even they so often what they asked when they covered anyone against the religion, and they were not from the rules of war, and the rules of war as people are so said, don't touch the women, don't touch the elderly, don't, any civilians are not to be touched, any animal is not to be harmed, any crops are not to be taken apart. And you see what happened when they took over from the Mosul of Iraq all the way into Syria, that everyone that was against them were killed, and every Muslim that they regarded them as polytheists. In fact, the Shabab in Africa, basically, there is a video of this even on YouTube today, where they went into a mazar of an awliya and they destroyed it. Well, that's what the one did back in 1920 when they destroyed the